Movies based on DC Comics properties have been produced since way back in the 1950s, with 1951's Superman and the Mole Men being the first example, and they've raised a lot of questions over the years. In fact, aside from a few gems such as Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight Trilogy, Tim Burton's 2 Batman movies, and more recently, Wonder Woman, they've been infinitely inferior to the majority of those based on Marvel characters. Who, for example, thought it was a good idea to cast Shaquille O'Neal as John Henry Irons in 1997's Steel movie?
It's hammer time.
Seriously, ugh. But that's a casting issue for another video, because this one will be looking at 25 things about the movies themselves that make no sense. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos. The 1978 Superman movie had us all wondering, how the heck did the Man of Steel rewind time by simply flying around the Earth really quick a bunch of times? That's not how it works. We know comic book physics don't exactly function in the same way as the real world, but that was just ridiculous. More to the point, 2 years later, in Superman 2, where did Superman pull the ability to wipe Lois Lane's memory from? It seems to come straight out of his Kryptonian butt.
Sorry, beg your pardon?
And the fact that he did it by kissing her was even more bizarre. Since when has memory wiping been a part of Superman's power set? Superman 3 was a ridiculous movie, and the whole splitting into 2 entities thing made no sense at any point. But why did Soup's cape turn dark red when he was evil? Granted, it was done for cinematic reasons to emphasize the character's dark turn, but what was the actual explanation for it happening? Like its predecessor, 1987 Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, was a bit of a joke, but one scene in particular made no sense. We know Superman has X-ray vision, and we know he has heat vision, but no combination of the two should be able to cook a duck in a closed oven when he's 2 rooms away from it. The opening scene of 1989's Batman saw the Dark Knight passively watching a crime being committed without attempting to stop it. Although he went in to confront the perpetrators, the fact is he let it happen, and it wasn't exactly a minor crime. It involved a couple being attacked and their young son having a gun pointed at him. Why would Batman, of all people, let that happen?
Look, sometimes I don't know what to think about this.
1992's Batman Returns featured Danny DeVito's Penguin formulating a diabolical plan. He was to kidnap all of the firstborn children of Gotham, but what made no sense was the fact that he intended to do it using a train that could hold a maximum of 12 people. How would it hold off all of the firstborn kids of a city that has a population of between 10 and 20 million? In the first of Joel Schumacher's Batman movies, 1995's Batman Forever, why on earth did Tommy Lee Jones play Two-Face as if he was the Joker? That never has been and never will be what Two-Face is like. Freak. Something that infamously made absolutely no sense in 1997's Batman and Robin is the nipples on the titular heroes' costumes. What the heck were they all about? What purpose could they possibly serve? As for 2004's Catwoman, can't we all just agree that the whole damn thing didn't make any sense and leave it at that? Remember the whole giant microwave thing in 2005's Batman Begins when Ra's al Ghul vaporized Gotham's water supply? It didn't make sense at all. People consist of about 75% water, so there's no way that everyone near this massive microwave wouldn't just explode. You know the airplane scene in 2006 Superman Returns? The scene in which the airplane had a power outage and Superman had to save it? Well, the woman on board who announced the power outage used a microphone to make the announcement. A microphone that hadn't lost its power somehow. In the same movie, Lois Lane won a Pulitzer Prize for her piece about why the world doesn't need Superman. That was weird enough to begin with, as one piece of work shouldn't win you a Pulitzer Prize, but what was weirder is that a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist asked how many F's were in the word catastrophic. 2008's Dark Knight is one of, if not the greatest comic book movie ever made. It isn't perfect though, and some of it definitely doesn't make sense. How, for example, did all of the flesh around Harvey Dent's eyeball get burnt beyond recognition, but the eyeball itself escaped completely unscathed? Was it impervious to fire? We don't think so. The ending of 2009's Watchmen made no sense. In the comic book version of the story, world peace was achieved when a giant alien-esque creature emerged that all nations had to come together to stop. In the movie, world peace came after a US weapon destroyed cities around the world. Surely the US would have made some enemies because of that.
God help us all.
A lot of things about 2011's Green Lantern movie made no sense, like the fact that it was allowed to be made in the first place.
I know, right?
But how did Abin Sur's spaceship crash land on Earth without anybody seeing it? And for the military to take literally all day to get to it was just weird. In 2012's The Dark Knight Rises, how on earth did John Blake know that Bruce Wayne was Batman? The complete ease with which he figured it out just didn't make any sense at all. And for him to do it at the start of the movie was almost as though Christopher Nolan was trying to cram in as much plot development as possible. 2013's Man of Steel kicked off the DCEU and introduced Kryptonians to the franchise. Over the course of the movie, the likes of Jor-El and Zod were shown writing or reading a strange language, one that was presumably Krypton's native tongue. Yet they always spoke English, even when there were no Earthlings in close vicinity.
What is it, Keyless?
There are 5 attack ships converging from the east.
This is common in all science fiction, but it doesn't stop it from making absolutely no sense whatsoever. 2016's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, oh, those names are long, was another DC movie with a lot wrong with it, but nothing made less sense than the infamous Martha scene.
Why did you say that name?
Were we really expected to believe that two superheroes who we had been led to believe had completely opposing ideologies could put aside their differences because their mothers randomly had the same name? We're not that dumb, DC. Also, why did Lex Luthor go to the trouble of creating logos for the superpowered individuals he had on file? It's absolutely absurd to think that he would do that, but we guess DC and Warner Brothers just wanted to start the Justice League branding early. In the Suicide Squad movie from that same year, the titular team were put together by Amanda Waller specifically to go up against the next Superman-level threat in the DCEU. What exactly were a psychotic woman with a baseball bat and a guy who throws boomerangs expected to do to stop the next Superman? 2017's Wonder Woman specifically stated that the Amazons were created with the protection of mankind in mind. It was their sacred duty to spread love and compassion throughout the world and prevent humans from being corrupted by the god of war Ares. And yet they didn't even know World War I was taking place until Steve Trevor washed up on their shores. In the Justice League movie later that same year, the bug-like parademons were specifically described as being able to smell fear. And yet, Barry Allen, who spent pretty much the entire movie nervous and scared, didn't attract them. How? He's already the fastest man alive. It's not like he needs additional plot armor.
That's rude.
Also, why didn't the Suicide Squad show up in Justice League? If, as we've already mentioned, the titular team was brought together to go up against dangerous threats, why weren't they called upon when parademons were invading the planet? Although we guess the same could be said of the Avengers in movies like Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Well, you're not wrong.
And finally, what the heck was with Superman's top lip in Justice League? That really didn't make any sense. What did you think about that, Robin?
Contributing to the delinquency of minors.
Man, that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? Have you noticed anything else about any DC movies that make no sense? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.